Welcome to this month's edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter. This month, we recycled an important segment from last winter with Master Firefighter Danny Woods about how to handle the hazards of winter operations. Next, Captain John Taylor takes us back to the Marine scene with the latest training updates and new equipment for the Marine team. And finally, in this month's edition of Rags to Wrenches, Battalion Chief Jack Crandall introduces us to the apparatus team and explains what happens behind the scenes when purchasing a new truck. I'm Master Firefighter Tom Parks, and you're watching Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter. Here is your host, Public Information Officer Art Kahn.
Hi, I'm Public Information Officer Art Kahn, and welcome to this month's edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter. Well, the holidays are over now, and we're entering the backside of winter. Now, last winter was a lot harsher than this winter has been thus far, but there's still plenty of cold weather ahead and the potential for yet another severe winter storm. With that in mind, we thought it'd be a good time to take a second look at a segment released on Frontline about this same time last year. The segment deals with the challenges firefighters face when working in cold conditions. Master Firefighter Danny Woods has fought both fire and ice and knows how to prepare for the extreme conditions that winter brings, even in Virginia Beach.
I'm Master Firefighter Danny Woods, coming to you from Company 8, and I want to talk a little bit about cold weather operations. Firefighting is a dangerous job any time of the year, but freezing winter temperatures creates even more challenges for us. Global warming is happening all over the country, and Virginia Beach is no exception. Even though spring is just around the corner, there's still plenty of cold weather to come. With this in mind, it's a good idea to address the hazards freezing temperatures can pose to both our personnel and our equipment.
Hi, I'm Captain Black with 5B shift, and some of the concerns that I've seen over the years there with the fire service, we had some smaller snowstorms throughout the year, and more recently we've been having multiple storms, and some of those concerns are that the constant cold weather throughout the winter time there and how it affects some of our equipment, ladders. Water gets onto the halyard and your dogs or your locks on your ladder, so it disables the ladder there from being able to replace it once you've been on the scene.
Well, you get concerned that the truck, the lack of circulation in the water, being out there for 3-4 hours at a time, possibly freezing some portions, the valves or internal portions of the truck. So trying to maintain some type of circulation without dumping too much water on the scene is kind of a fine line.
Engine companies need to keep water moving to keep hose lines, ladder pipes, valves, and pumps from freezing solid.
Drew's going to talk about how on a particular fire that we had a lot of water from him actually dumping the water and keeping the pump cool because sometimes that overheating is caused from lack of water movement and actually keeping it from freezing too. But what happens is it pools under the truck there and then actually starts freezing around the operator, around the truck, which causes a lot of slip hazards for our own selves around the truck.
Right now it's about 35 degrees. The night in question we knew the temperatures were going to fall into the mid-20s. We got the call at around 3 a.m., 250 I believe, to Crestwood Avenue for single-family fire. Didn't have the issue with the frozen hydrant, however we had issues with water going all over the street as well as the driveway during fire attack. By the time fire attack was occurring and the first crews were coming out, the driveways and the streets were beginning to freeze up. With the amount of water that we were putting on the scene, it was obviously becoming an issue, but everybody had pretty good awareness of what they were doing at the time, so we didn't have as many issues as we could have.
Slips and falls are an obvious hazard in freezing conditions. Boot soles become harder when the mercury drops below freezing, preventing them from gripping the ground. Applying salt or sand to frozen ground can improve traction. Many companies keep a small container of ice melt on their rigs for use around the pump panel or rear of the truck during pumping and fireground operations. Another advantage to having it on the truck is to help you gain traction if your rig gets stuck in the snow after sitting on scene of an incident for any period of time.
Cold actually could have more issues than we realize, so yeah, 20 to 30 minutes in, we're starting to think about getting guys rotating into the truck maybe to get some some warmth, maybe thinking about changing out some gear, changing jackets, changing some undershirts if you can. I know that a couple guys did do that on the truck.
The turnout gear worn to protect you from fire can work against you in the cold as well. That's because this type of garment does not allow for effective heat dissipation. Sweating can lead to shivering and lowering the body's core temperature. This can cause hypothermia. Symptoms would include shivering, confusion, extreme fatigue, and drowsiness. To prevent hypothermia, dress in layers, keep moving, wear a hood or hat. As much as 50% of body heat can be lost through the head. Many different incidents that the Virginia Beach Fire units will respond to require extended on-scene times. Support 8 can be requested during these long incidents to aid working fire crews on scene. They perform many support functions to include supplying drinks and snacks. Hydration is actually one of the most overlooked ways of protecting ourselves from cold stress. This needs to take place before responding to an incident to ensure our bodies are working at their best. Vital functions of the body will shut down if not properly hydrated. Drinking at least a quart of water per hour during work cycles is recommended. Incident commanders need to understand that firefighters can only battle the elements for short periods of time in extreme weather. In 2014, the support truck added an inflatable tent with a portable heater to their cache. This tent can be set up during a long-lasting incident and provide shelter from the weather and a place to rest and recharge. The shelter is simple and quick to set up. You can contact Support 8 by radio or have the dispatcher respond them to your case location. Obviously we can't control the weather, but we can prepare for the challenges that cold weather brings. Some of the items in this video are basic, but the difference that these preparations and precautions can make to personal safety and to our equipment can make a significant difference.
In this next segment, Captain Jonathan Taylor and Master Firefighter Amy Mack give us an update on the Marine Team water rescue training, as well as some equipment they're using now to assist with high-risk, low-frequency water rescues.
In this segment, we're going to be discussing the Fire Department Marine Team quarterly training conducted recently at Virginia Wesleyan Pool and Lake Smith. The Virginia Beach Fire Department Marine Team meets quarterly as a group to conduct ongoing training related to its mission.
All right, we're going to have 3 stations where we're going to put into practice some of the things that we looked at with the pool today with the subsystem.
At our most recent training, we focused on preparing for and taking our annual swim test, as well as introducing a new piece of equipment for water rescue. The basic minimum swim test for all Marine Team members consists of 4 elements: a 100-meter swim, an underwater swim of 25 feet, a surface dive to 10 feet to retrieve a 5-pound brick, and the ability to tread water for 5 minutes. Training began at the pool in the Batten Student Center at Virginia Wesleyan College. In the morning, team members worked on becoming more efficient in the water and developing their ability to more effectively pass the requirements of the test, as well as the skills necessary to bring new team members up to speed. The swim test was taken after lunch.
Nice.
Followed by an introduction to the SSBS, or Surface Supplied Breathing System. The SSBS consists of a first stage regulator attached to 2 50-foot-long whips, each with their own second stage regulator. This was purchased following an incident where a young woman was trapped at the stern of a boat with her leg caught between the 2 propellers of an outboard motor.
When they got out there, they saw she was literally a true underwater entanglement. And we had a call for the squad. Squad 10 came in here with support from Virginia Beach Police Department divers, and we're operating at about 6 to 8 feet of water with about a little bit of a 1 to 2 foot wave. So we're having to swim, life vests, working underwater, snorkeling. It was one of the most challenging extrications that I can recall in my 26 years. We had one of our firefighter paramedics that was with her, Amy Mack, the whole time. You know, she trains for these triathlons, and she was in the water for an hour and a half.
Her left leg was caught in the propeller of the boat, and it had her body twisted, so she was laying sideways at the stern of the boat, and her face was in the water up to about her mouth level, with her mouth being out of the water. But anytime a wave or a wake would come by, her head would go underwater because the boat would go up and down, and she was essentially attached to the boat. And she was very fearful of drowning. Eventually, the PD brought a scuba tank with a regulator, and she was able to breathe through that, and it really calmed her down and relaxed her. So with the new equipment we have, it would have really helped the situation because, first of all, it took quite a while into the call to actually get that scuba tank. We tried an ET tube, which was not helpful at all. And then essentially to sort of act like a straw. And then we had a snorkel, same thing, not helpful. She could not get the hang of it. And then the regulator obviously helped, but it took a long time to get there. So if we had access to it on the boat right away, she could have had that regulator in her mouth. The situation was extricating her leg from the propeller. And to do that, you had to be underwater and to see the situation. And PD has scuba tanks, we do not. So the firefighters could have been able to go under the water for longer periods of time and assess the situation and work on extricating her leg.
During the extended extrication, which required the dismantling of the outdrive, protecting the patient's airway as she bobbed up and down with the wave action was a primary concern. The SSBS allows us to provide the victim with a stable air source, as well as provide the rescuer with a source of air, if needed, in order to operate within the first 3 feet of the water column while extricating the patient. After training in the pool with the system, the team relocated to the boat ramp at Lake Smith to practice with the system on a simulated task in a realistic environment. With water temperatures in the high 40s, the team also got to put their thermal protective gear to the test. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions regarding what you've seen, or you're interested in any more information about the Marine team, you can contact me at the information shown on the screen.
In our final segment this month, Battalion Chief Jack Crandall introduces us to the apparatus team and gives us some insight on the hard work required of these individuals to acquire new rigs to keep our fleet up to date.
Battalion Chief Jack Crandall here again with our Rags to Wrenches, the sequel segment for Frontline. As promised last month when we met and looked at Engine 21, I told you this month I'd introduce you to the apparatus team and the guys who helped to put these rigs together for you. I've got with me today the whole team. I got Master Firefighter Mike Kellerh, works at Rescue 2 on B shift. Cleon Jones, Ladder 16 C shift. Mark Hunley's here today too. He's at Rescue 1 B shift, and Scott Perry from Engine 10 B shift. These are the guys that go through the process, which I'm going to explain to you here in just a minute, and help to get these rigs built and put on the street and go to work for you. So we'll go through that process today. I'd like to just quickly go through the process of purchasing a fire truck so you'll understand what goes into making this happen. When we start out, we get a proposed option list from a vendor. What it does, it explains every single component that's on that truck, from the engine and transmission to the types of equipment that we're going to be putting on the truck and those types of things. So that's what we start this. Every member of the apparatus team will have an opportunity to review this list, and they go through it, and believe me, they go through with a fine-tooth comb, identify lights that maybe we want to change or improve, or those types of things. So that's what happens with the component list, is what we call it. Everybody reviews that. Once we get done with that part, we come up with a conceptual drawing. The drawing I have in front of me now is for Tanker 13. The first drawing that we got actually is a drawing of one of our old trucks, Tanker 6 or Tanker 5. And what we do is we take that as a starting point, and then we update it and go with what the modern technology is and make those changes there. So once that occurs, we'll go to a updated drawing. The vendor will come back and we'll sit down and we'll look at the updated drawing, and we'll go through and basically red pin the drawing, and they'll put where we want to move lights or where we want to move equipment, where we want to do things differently on that drawing. So once we red pin that, they come back with a final drawing which identifies everything that we've changed, everything that we want on the truck. So that's where we give final approval basically on the truck and that we want to go to manufacturing. After that occurs, they come back with a proposal, which is where the money comes in. This is not a carte blanche process where we can just randomly change items, because things can get rather expensive. Just for instance, a lighting package change on an engine or a tanker may cost $10,000, which is quite a bit of money in the grand scheme of things. So we get a proposal which identifies the exact cost of every single component that we've changed, or every single special item that we might want in the city of Virginia Beach. So we get that money, and then we have to manage our CIP, which is a capital improvement account where fire apparatus is paid for. So that's what happens there. Then in the end, the apparatus goes to manufacture. Typically, you will see a Take an engine, for instance. An engine is going to take anywhere from 270 to 365 days to build. I know that's a long process, but you're talking about a $550,000 piece of equipment that has a lot of integral components that have to go together. So it takes quite a bit of time. It's also dependent on how busy the vendor is. Once the apparatus is ready, the team will take a trip to the plant and we'll do a final inspection. That's where we go through the entire component list that I showed you initially to make sure that everything that we said we wanted is on that truck and that everything is right. And believe me, when these guys go to the plant to make that trip, it is a working trip. Make no mistake about it, these guys work hard for 10 to 12 hours a day while they're there to make sure that the truck is what we said it should be. So, and while we're there, we'll come up with another document that where we go through and they have a camera and they have a computer where we take pictures of everything that is wrong. For instance, on this particular truck, we came up with 8 pages of problems that needed to be fixed at the plant. And some of those things might be something that we ID'd that we want to improve or something that they built that we didn't specify. So that's how that process works. And again, it's a long process, but the apparatus team is here. These guys work a lot on these trucks and they do their best to make it as usable for you once you get it there. Then once the rig arrives in the city, obviously these guys are coming out, outfitting the trucks for you. We're working on a system now to get different mounting brackets, so it's as good for you once you get your truck in service, so you have everything that you need to make your truck functional. So that's how the purchasing process works. Last month I asked for any questions to be sent to us about what you should or shouldn't be doing on your trucks and anything that you have regarding your apparatus that you wanted to ask, and we do our best to answer it. We got a question in that basically asks, what is it that the city garage wants you to do and doesn't want you to be doing with your trucks, and what they expect from you? To put it very honestly, the city garage doesn't want you doing a lot with your trucks in regards to the integral workings of the truck. Because if you think about it, I had an analogy given to me this morning. You think about your car from the 1980s versus your car today, there's a lot more electronic components and a lot more things that are not serviceable at the station level. Even changing a headlight today is a lot different than it was just 10 years ago. So we have mechanisms in place that normally can get you those minor things changed, whether it be windshield wipers or headlights or even tires. The serviceable components need to be taken care of by the guys at the city garage. What they do want you to be doing is keeping your trucks clean and taking some pride in your trucks. It's difficult, for them when they go to work on your trucks and they're not maintained, or kept clean in the station by us, which is a reflection on us. Doug is more than willing to answer a phone call from you. If you have an issue or you have a question, please give him a call or direct it to one of the apparatus team guys if it's not some type of emergency, and they will certainly get an answer to your question. There was also the question of tilting cabs. I know that a lot of you think you should be tilting cabs in the field, and I was on your side at one point, but when it was explained to me by the guys at the garage, there's not a lot that you can do under the hood of the truck, so to speak. You can tilt the cab and look at those things. I mean, you might find a belt that's loose or something like that, but really there's not a lot that you can do that offsets maybe the danger that's involved in tilting those cabs and the potential for damage. So that's why we don't do that. But if you have any questions on that, again, the guys at the garage are more than willing to answer your questions, or you can direct them to any member of the team. Okay, second question we had this month came from a viewer regarding the proper operation of an engine cooler. As you know, our apparatus are equipped with an engine cooler, but what exactly does it do and when are we supposed to be using it? So Master Firefighter Scott Perry is here today, has gone through some information and has an answer for that question for you.
Today we're talking about the engine cooler on our fire trucks. The engine cooler is basically a diverter valve that is taking water on the truck, cycling it through to keep the engine cool. We use this when temperatures are above 80 degrees or when water is not flowing and RPMs are increased on our pumps. We want to use this only when the temperature is above 80 degrees. Every apparatus in the city of Virginia Beach has a maintenance manual. If you find at your station there is no maintenance manual, please contact one of the apparatus team members and we will make sure that you're provided that information. Open the engine cooler valve to provide engine cooling when air temperature is above 80 degrees Fahrenheit or engine overheats. Heavy pumping in hot temperatures requires extra engine cooling. The engine cooler transfers heat to the pump discharge water through the heat exchanger. Turn the knob 1/4 turn counterclockwise to the left to open the valve. To close the valve, turn the knob 1/4 turn clockwise and the valve is closed. Many departments leave this valve fully open during summer and closed during winter. Close the engine cooler valve for road operations during cold weather for more cab heat.
All right, that wraps up another edition of Rags to Wrenches for this month. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for future editions, please give the apparatus team an email at the address that's listed on your screen. Thanks, see you next month.
That's going to do it for this month's edition of Frontline Firefighter. As always, we invite you to send along any suggestions or comments you have for future episodes to Kirk Kellerhals at the information you see on your screen. And remember to watch us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. For Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter, I'm Art Kahn.